These 112 fall into 7 categories of 16 each. How to become a master of all these things? But the problem is, how do you feel when you're a master of all these things? A lot of people are like this. They come all the way to Kailash. All they want is to go back. They start fantasizing about how they will use the bathrooms. If you get halfway, you may feel like Alexander the Great. He wanted to conquer the world and know how it feels. He conquered half and felt terrible. If you came here 150 years ago, I would have thrashed you if you asked such a question. When there were no human rights activists, if you came, I would have really thrashed you. But now I cannot. What we refer to as the universe or as cosmos is essentially a complex amalgamation of forms. All these forms, planets, stars, the whole systems, these are all forms. When these forms evolve over a period of time to become efficient forms, seemingly perpetual, they have become seemingly perpetual in our experience because of the perfection of geometry that they have arrived at. It's not something that it suddenly happened. Each one of these forms have evolved over a period of time. Certain forms which evolved beyond a certain point. When I say a certain point, if a form evolves beyond what the human form is competent of doing, then we would refer to that as the divine form, because anything that is above our capability and competence becomes divine in our experience. So when we say divine forms, the misunderstanding in the monotheistic religions is that those who have many forms have lost their way. That is, they do not know what divinity is, they have invented too many images. These forms are not invented, they're derived. By observing the nature of the universe, identifying that certain forms are able to perform and exist in a reverberance which is beyond what is normally considered human, then all those forms we identified as divine forms, which are worthy of looking up to. Above all, these are forms we have to learn how to use, how to become accessible to these forms which are more competent forms than our own form. There are natural forms on this planet which can function in a higher intensity than the human form, or we can assemble forms, or we can create forms, a certain combination of forms which will function in a higher way than the way we are right now. In fact, the whole system of yoga is just about arranging or rearranging your own form. These 114 chakras, which are a certain energy forms by themselves, if we rearrange them in a certain way, the same human being who was just flesh and blood, living within the compulsive nature of that dimension of life, can suddenly be transformed into a higher possibility. It is those people who have transformed themselves or the geometry of their existence to a higher level, either by realization or by understanding or by sheer intensity of energy or emotion, they have transformed themselves into a higher geometric form so that their very presence exudes a completely different dimension of energy, a complete different possibility becomes available around those forms, then we refer to those forms as divine forms. So in India, such people get referred to as Bhagwan, or there are so many other names which essentially means godlike or divine. The nature of the human body has come with a certain arrangement. There's a whole science which has become a very quasi kind of science these days because of the intuitive sciences have fallen on bad places because general integrity in the society has fallen. People start saying things, guesswork is considered intuition. Otherwise, whenever a child is born, usually in India, they used to call a person who's intuitive, who'd come and observe the geometry of the child's body and would say, this is what is possible in this child's life. Not by looking at the stars, but simply looking at the geometry of the child's body, the energetic geometry of the child's body. Probably most of you have heard about how a certain person predicted Gautama, the Buddha's future. He said he will either become a great emperor or a great saint. So this may, for logical minds, this may look like, oh, this is, come on, this or that. Both sides of the coin, if you say you're bound to be right. No, he's only talking about looking at the intensity of the geometry. He's saying, either in the material world he will achieve great things. Because he's a king's son, he's saying maybe he will become a great emperor. Or because of a certain observation, if such intensity is there in the child, why would he waste his time ruling over people? He would rather embrace them, which is more sensible to do. He would rather transform them, which is more sensible to do. So, he said the intensity is going beyond being an emperor. Being a king's son, probably he will become an emperor. But when I look at the intensity of the geometry, maybe he will become a great sage. Well, he turned out the other way around. He was not wrong in that prediction. If he had fallen back in his life for some reason, maybe he would have become a great emperor, a conqueror. Maybe he would have conquered many lands and become a great emperor. Great emperors did not happen without so much guile, violence and many things which most people wouldn't want to do in their lives. To be a great emperor, you have to do many things that a whole lot of sensible people will not be willing to do. So Gautama chose the other way around and the prediction was not wrong. The prediction is he is looking at the seed and this can become a great tree. So the geometry of the body, rearranging the geometry of the body is about creating a divine form from an ordinary flesh and bone system that we have. Is something wrong with flesh and bone? Nothing wrong, it comes with its limitations. It's a compulsive form. Is something wrong being compulsive? Nothing wrong if you don't appreciate what it means to be free, nothing wrong being compulsive. Is something wrong being a creature on this planet? Nothing wrong. It is just that if you die without exploring the possibility of being something more, human life does not get fulfilled. Every life, from the smallest to the biggest, is aspiring to become a full-fledged life. Because the human being has come with this possibility, which is quite limitless, because of that, people are trying to fix their ambitions and goals in their life. What is a seamless possibility? People are trying to fix it so that they will feel like achievers If they pass an examination, they feel great. If they get a job, they feel great. If they earn $1 million, they feel great. Some nonsense like this. This is like among the lame people, you're a champion just because you have 2 legs. Human possibility has come with a seamless possibility. There is no way you or me can fix a goal, if I reach this, I'm done. It's a stupid way to culture one's life. If you arrange your inner geometry properly, this becomes a machine to go very far. How far it goes internally is entirely determined by the human being, the individual being. But how far it goes in the world are determined by the times, by the society, the social structures, so many things. You may get knocked down on the way. You may not get crucified, somebody may run you down on Highway 8, you know. So, how far we get in the world are subject to many things. How far we get within ourselves is just a question of arrangement of geometry, understanding, realization, understanding and the competence of being able to arrange it. The whole yogic system, starting from the physical phase of asanas to everything, is essentially to reorganize or to re-engineer our geometry in such a way that it begins to function in a way that you have not imagined possible till now. To live your life beyond your ambitions. The stupid ambitions have come to you because of a limited society in which you're living. Based on that, if you are a little one step ahead of your neighbor, your ambitions are realized. No, 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 I'm not just thinking about this, I want to be the richest man in United States. It is still among the lame. Among the lame, you're a champion, that's all. So, a seamless possibility need not be encapsulated into something silly based on the circumstances in which we are living right now. Everybody knows what's a chakra? Chakra is an English word, Chinese also. Chakra is a Chinese word. Chakreshwara means someone who has mastered all dimensions of energy within oneself. There are different manifestations of the same thing. It's not that there are different forms of energy, different manifestations. It's like the electricity right now is functioning as light, functioning as a camera too, maybe functioning as a filter in the Chandrakund. Same electricity, found different expressions. Similarly in the body, the same life energy found different expressions because of the way it functioned. If you touch the electricity in certain way, a motor will run. If you touch it in another way, poof, light will come on, fan will turn, something will happen. But fundamentally, as far as electricity is concerned, it's doing the same thing. Yes? The electricity does not know whether it's throwing out light or it's cooling the place or it's, enhancing my voice. The electricity does not know these things. It is the way a particular instrument is wired and designed that it becomes that. So similarly, the same energy flowing everywhere. But because of the way it is tangled in different places, as per the tangle, it generates a different manifestation of life. 114. We can deduce it in multiples. 7 is deduction. And also a classification. In each classification, 16 into 7, 112. Two, we're leaving it out because there's nothing much you can do about it. For this plant to blossom, we can nurture the root, we can trim the branches, we can do something, but once it's flowered, there's nothing to do. Nothing to do with the flowers. Similarly, the two of them are like flowers. If they blossom, there's really nothing to do, just enjoy it. Only 112 to work with. These 112 fall into 7 categories of 16 each. How to become a master of all these things? But the problem is, how do you feel when you're a master of all these things? Don't worry about how the hell you feel, first get there, no? If you want to go up to the 7th hill, there's a certain level of stress on the knees and lungs and everything. Right here, if you stand and think, if I go and stand there on the peak, how will it feel? This peak is very related to being a Chakreshwara because someone left their body through all the 7 chakras. So right here if you sit down and think, even physically, how does it feel up there? Will you get anywhere near that experience? I'm asking. You have to go through the pains, isn't it? It's painful if you're not fit. If you're fit, it's a joy to climb. So the best thing to do is get yourself fit, so that joyfully you can climb. Otherwise you may climb painfully, and by the time you go there, you may be in so much pain that you don't experience anything, you just want to come down. A lot of people are like this. They come all the way to Kailash, all they want is to go back and find a hotel room where they can sleep and shit in a proper place. Really, I'm not joking. They start fantasizing about how they will use the bathrooms. Though we provide them with the most scenic bathrooms in the world, so before you go there, don't fantasize, no use. Don't even think of all this Chakreshwara business, all this. This is all you have to look at. Simple, you know. Let's say you take this flower, you want to throw it at him. Will it go there or will it fly somewhere else? That's a question. See? With every moment, if this has to touch the tip of your nose, will it touch you or will it go like this? This is the question. I'm saying something as simple as moving your hand to looking, to observing, to seeing. Can you do everything with a certain level of precision? If you bring this precision into everything that you do, you are slowly gaining control over this. Physically, forget about energy. First physically, physical body itself flying all over the place, you don't know where it goes. Now, this is why we asked you to do Hatha Yoga in the morning, to get the precision. After doing Surya Namaskar for 3 years, still we can find 1 dozen mistakes, minimum. Because to get precision is not easy, takes a lot of work, lots of work. If you bring that into your thing, slowly you gain mastery over the system. First over the voluntary part of it, then over the involuntary parts of it, then over energy, then over intelligence, then over thought, emotion, everything. Sitting here, if you ask me, when I become the master of the universe, how does it feel? If you get halfway, you may feel like Alexander the Great. He wanted to conquer the world and know how it feels. He conquered half and felt terrible. So 3.5 chakras, if you get mastery, you may feel terrible. You think so? You think so? I'm saying that's not how it works. Don't waste your time with these kind of things. I will tell you, Chakraswara, how it feels like this, like this, like this, like this. What do you know? Just waste of time. And you will fantasize about something that you do not know. No use. Just see, what are the things that you don't have control about? Just see, if you can pick an innocuous dot, a simple spot on this floor, and simply look at it. Somebody says snake, still you don't know. Whatever happens, you're just there. Just try it. That's why we taught you meditation in the middle of the day, when people are moving around, making noises, there is work to be done, everything but no matter, everybody's talking, they're talking about you. No, they're talking whatever. This is gaining control. The more control you gain over yourself, the more things you can do effortlessly. Is it so? See, control does not mean limit. Control means it breaks limitations. Let's say you're riding a bicycle. The more control you have, more tricks you can do on the bicycle, isn't it? If you have a lot of control, you can be riding and do text. Don't you try that. In the ashram, if you try that, we'll take away your bicycle and your phone. But the more control you have, more freedom it gives you, isn't it? The more control you have over this, more freedom it gives you. Less control you have, less entanglement, more entanglement you have, and less freedom you have. So, instead of thinking of Mount Everest to start with, better to climb the steps up and down in Isha Yoga Center. This boy, you must put him on a duty at the Surya Kund. Up and down, you must empty the tank tomorrow. We'll give you 2 buckets. It'll work, believe me. These days we can't, the gurus are crippled because you can't use any method that works. Somebody will file human rights. You can't do what's needed. You have to do pussycat stuff. You can't do what's needed straight, you have to… the way they like it. Believe me, if you have children, if you did everything the way they like it, they would have been scrawny nonsense. Yes or no? Literally, you force-fed them a little bit, you conned them, you lied to them, you did whatever and put some stuff into them, isn't it so? Yes or no? Huh? Did you do that or no? Otherwise you never brought up a child, believe me. So similarly, a guru should be given that little latitude. If everything has to be according to a norm, then little crippled guru, Because if you already know what he will do with you, and you already calculated what will happen, what will not happen, it doesn't work like that. It will always come in a way you never imagined possible. And because people have set plans in their mind, When things come in the way they did not expect, they will let it pass by. Today, modern mind has reached this point that if you light a lamp and let it float in front of them, you must tell them, this is a lamp. Otherwise they look at it like this, huh? No, nobody told me a lamp is coming, so it's not coming. You got to tell them, lamp is coming. In how many minutes? In 3 minutes. 3 minutes exactly? Oh, my watch says this, my cell phone says this, which 3 minutes? If you came here 150 years ago, I would have thrashed you if you asked such a question. If you asked, if I become Chakreshwara, how does it feel means when there were no human rights activists, if you came, I would have really thrashed you. But now I cannot. When all the 114 chakras have blossomed, it feels like
The concept of chakra has a rich history rooted in ancient Indian spiritual traditions, particularly within Hinduism and later adopted by Buddhism. However, variations of each centers or channels within the body exist across various cultures and religious traditions. Let's explore the history and significance of chakras in different religions. Hinduism. Chakras are most commonly associated with Hinduism, where they are integral to spiritual practices such as yoga, tantra and meditation. The earliest mention of chakras can be found in ancient Indian texts, including the Vedas, Upanishads and Tantras. These texts describe the subtle energy body and its various energy centers, which are believed to govern different aspects of physical, emotional and spiritual well-being. In Hinduism, the chakra system is closely linked to the concept of Kundalini, a dormant spiritual energy coiled at the base of spine. Through yoga and meditation practices, practitioners aim to awaken and ascend this Kundalini energy through the central energy channel Sushumna, activating and balancing the chakras along the way. Each chakra is associated with specific qualities, elements, colors, sounds and psychological attributes, forming a comprehensive framework for spiritual growth and self-realization. Buddhism. While Buddhism originated in India and shared some philosophical and meditative practices with Hinduism, it does not emphasize the chakra system in the same way. However, elements of the chakra system can be found in certain Buddhist tantric traditions, particularly in Tibetan Vajrayana Buddhism. In Vajrayana Buddhism, the subtle energy body is described in terms of channels, nadis and energy winds, prana, rather than traditional chakras. However, there are practices that involve visualizations and meditations on energy centers within the body, similar to the Hindu chakra system. These practices aim to purify the subtle energy body and facilitate spiritual awakening and enlightenment. Taoism. In Taoist philosophy and practices, there is a concept of energy centers or channels within the body, although they may not be explicitly referred to as chakras. Taoist practices such as Qigong and Tai Chi focus on cultivating and harmonizing the flow of vital energy Qi through the body's meridians and energy centers. The Taoist understanding of energy centers aligns with the holistic approach of balancing physical, mental and spiritual aspects of the self to promote health, vitality and longevity. While the terminology may differ, the underlying principles share similarities with the Hindu and Buddhist concepts of chakras. Christianity. Within Christianity, there isn't a direct equivalent to Hindu or Buddhist chakra system. However, some mystical traditions within Christianity, such as Christian mysticism or Christian esotericism, explore concepts of the inner spiritual journey and transformation. Certain Christian mystics, such as the medieval mystic Hildegard of Bingen, have described spiritual visions and experiences that involve imagery similar to the chakra system, such as radiant light emanating from specific regions of the body. While not explicitly framed as chakras, these experiences reflect a deeper exploration of the spiritual dimensions of the human being within the Christian mystical tradition. Sufism. Sufism, the mystical branch of Islam, also has practices that involve the subtle energy body, although terminology and concepts may vary from those of Hinduism or Buddhism. Sufi mystics may speak of spiritual centers or states of consciousness that parallel the idea of chakras, although they may use different terminology. Sufi practices often involve techniques such as dhikr, remembrance of God, meditation, and spiritual retreats aimed at purifying the heart, awakening inner knowledge, and achieving union with the divine. While the framework may differ, the ultimate goal of spiritual transformation and union with the divine is shared across mystical traditions. In summary, while the concept of chakras originated within Hinduism and later influenced Buddhist and other Eastern spiritual traditions, variations of energy centers or channels within the body can be found across different cultures and religions. Each tradition offers unique insights and practices for understanding and cultivating the subtle energies of the human body in the journey towards spiritual awakening and enlightenment.